Center for the Ethiopian Educational Information and Communication Technology presents Educational Satellite Television Programs.
Hello, teacher. Hello, students. Welcome to the first educational satellite television program in the subject of geography for grade 9. I hope that you are excited to learn geography on this TV program. We are going to begin our studies of this interesting subject by learning about map reading. In this unit, we will discuss the concept, scope, and branches of geography. We will learn to express the meanings, historical development, and uses of maps. We will also compute field distance and areas of irregularly shaped figures and construct statistical diagrams. Let us begin today's lesson by defining the meanings of maps and comparing ancient and modern maps to learn about their historical development over the ages. Do you remember how to define a map from your studies in previous grades, students? Here is a reminder. A map is a simplified, diminished, plain representation of all or part of the Earth's surface as viewed from vertically above. Maps can represent very small areas, very large areas, or anything in between. For example, a map might show the layout of a small house, the city of Addis Ababa, or the entire surface of the Earth. This shows that maps are very adaptable. Maps are two-dimensional representations. This means that they exist on a flat plane, such as a piece of paper. Maps are smaller than the areas they represent. However, the features shown on a map have the same relative proportions as they do in reality. Mapmakers can realize this by using the scale. As you can see on the screen, the distance on the map between Gundar and Debre Tabor is about twice as long as the distance between Debre Tabor and Nefas Mucha. This means that, in reality, Gondar is twice as far from Debre Tabor as from Nefas Mucha. This is an example of scale drawing. Most maps use generally accepted symbols to represent natural, artificial, or cultural features. They also use conventional notations to provide background information, like the map's title, date of manufacture, and scale. It is time for our first activity, students. Using your exercise books, please make a sketch map of the area surrounding your school. Do your best to assess the distances between local landmarks, the directions of local roads, and the relative sizes of the buildings. And remember to mark which direction is north. Are you ready to begin sketching your maps, students? Then please go ahead, and I will be back after a few minutes.
Students, let's get ready. Begin. Time's up. Let's get back to our lesson.
Hello, students. I hope that from this exercise you understood how challenging it can be to draw an accurate map, even if you know the area well. Following today's lesson, you will get a chance to compare your sketch map with those drawn by your classmates. I hope that they are not too different. Now, we will discuss how maps have developed through the ages. Maps are among the oldest tools used by human beings. The most primitive human tribes made crude locational maps showing the best routes for hunting, fishing, and gathering. These early humans would use whatever materials were available: sticks, shells, stones, and even charcoal scratched on cave walls, and animal skins. As our technology became more advanced, so did the materials that we used to make maps. We began to use clay, parchment, papyrus, and even solid plates of silver. Clearly, maps were often considered to be very valuable by our ancestors. In traditional locational map making, one of the greatest challenges was the accurate measurement of distances, directions, areas, and locations. Measurements were done manually, which is often difficult and inaccurate. As a result, traditional maps were frequently based on incorrect information and often unreliable. Traditional maps sometimes included drawings of three-dimensional objects, meaning that they were pictographic, a picture that represents an idea, rather than a complete diagrammatic representation. Cartography is the modern practice of map making. Its application began in the 17th century. Advances in mathematics, optics, and perspective geometry allowed cartographers to produce some of the first truly accurate maps. As mapping technology has continued its advancement, cameras have been mounted on airplanes and even orbital satellites. The entire surface of the planet has been mapped by digital photography to a very high degree of accuracy. Computers have become a very important tool in the science of cartography. They collect, store, and analyze map data without human help. Digital archives of map data are called Geographic Information Systems, or GISs. It is time for our second activity, students. In groups of 3 or 4, please discuss the major differences between traditional map making and modern cartography. List specific examples and make sure that one member of the group writes your findings. You can begin your discussions now.
Students, Let's get ready. Begin. Time's up. Let's get back to our lesson.
Welcome back, students. I hope that from this exercise you understood the major differences between traditional mapmaking and modern cartography. Traditional maps were usually locational rather than geographical. Relative distances were often inaccurate, and drawings of three-dimensional objects meant that they were pictographic. Modern maps are usually geographic rather than locational. And relative distances are very accurate. Most maps use generally accepted symbols to represent natural, artificial, or cultural features, and conventional notations to provide background information. That is all for today. We have studied the meaning of maps and their historical development. Next time, we will learn about the different uses and classifications of maps. Until next lesson. Thank you, teacher. Thank you, students.